In the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, humanity's form has undergone countless mutations and adaptations. Among these divergent strains of Homo sapiens, we find the Abhumans, a classification that both fascinates and repulses the Imperium of man. These altered humans, products of evolution on far-flung worlds or genetic manipulation, occupy a precarious position in the galaxy-spanning empire. Abhumans represent the fine line between human potential and heretical divergence. Their existence poses challenging questions about the nature of humanity in a universe where the form of man is both sacred and malleable. From the hulking ogrins to the diminutive ratlings, each Abhuman strain tells a unique story of survival and adaptation in the harshest environments imaginable. The Imperium's stance on Abhumans is complex and often contradictory. While some strains are grudgingly accepted and even utilized in Imperial forces, others face persecution and extermination. This dichotomy reflects the broader tensions within the Imperium between pragmatism and dogma, survival and purity. Exploring the world of Abhumans offers a window into the darker aspects of human evolution in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Their stories are tales of resilience, horror, and the ever-present struggle for acceptance in a galaxy teetering on the brink of annihilation. From toxic death worlds to isolated void colonies, Abhumans have carved out niches in environments that would spell doom for unaltered humans. The classification of Abhumans extends beyond mere physical differences. It encompasses psychological and cultural variations that have emerged over millennia of separation from mainstream humanity. Some Abhuman cultures have developed unique traditions, languages, and societal structures that both intrigue and alarm Imperial scholars. As we delve deeper into the realm of Abhumans, we'll uncover the myriad forms they take, the roles they play in the Imperium's endless wars, and the challenges they face in a galaxy that often views them with suspicion and fear. Their story is one of adaptation, survival, and the ever-shifting definition of what it means to be human in the far future. In the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, humanity's form has undergone countless mutations and adaptations. Among these divergent strains of Homo sapiens, we find the Abhumans, a classification that both fascinates and repulses the Imperium of man. These altered humans, products of evolution on far-flung worlds or genetic manipulation, occupy a precarious position in the galaxy-spanning empire. Abhumans represent the fine line between human potential and heretical divergence. Their existence poses challenging questions about the nature of humanity in a universe where the form of man is both sacred and malleable. From the hulking ogrins to the diminutive ratlings, each Abhuman strain tells a unique story of survival and adaptation in the harshest environments imaginable. The Imperium's stance on Abhumans is complex and often contradictory. While some strains are grudgingly accepted and even utilized in Imperial forces, others face persecution and extermination. This dichotomy reflects the broader tensions within the Imperium between pragmatism and dogma, survival and purity. Exploring the world of Abhumans offers a window into the darker aspects of human evolution in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Their stories are tales of resilience, horror, and the ever-present struggle for acceptance in a galaxy teetering on the brink of annihilation. From toxic death worlds to isolated void colonies, Abhumans have carved out niches in environments that would spell doom for unaltered humans. The classification of Abhumans extends beyond mere physical differences. It encompasses psychological and cultural variations that have emerged over millennia of separation from mainstream humanity. Some Abhuman cultures have developed unique traditions, languages, and societal structures that both intrigue and alarm Imperial scholars. As we delve deeper into the realm of Abhumans, we'll uncover the myriad forms they take, the roles they play in the Imperium's endless wars, and the challenges they face in a galaxy that often views them with suspicion and fear. Their story is one of adaptation, survival, and the ever-shifting definition of what it means to be human in the far future. To grasp the significance of Abhumans within the Warhammer 40,000 universe, one must first understand the Imperium's obsession with human purity. In a galaxy rife with alien threats and the corrupting influence of chaos, maintaining the sanctity of the human form becomes paramount. The Emperor of mankind, entombed upon the Golden Throne, serves as the ultimate archetype of humanity's potential. Abhumans challenge this paradigm, existing as living proof that the human genome can be twisted and altered while still retaining a semblance of its original essence. Their presence forces the Imperium to confront uncomfortable truths about the malleability of the human form and the necessity of adaptation in a hostile universe. The Adeptus Mechanicus, keepers of humanity's technological knowledge, view Abhumans with a mixture of fascination and revulsion. These altered humans represent both the potential for guided human evolution and the dangers of unchecked genetic drift. Magos biologists study Abhuman strains extensively, seeking to understand the limits of human adaptation and the potential for creating more effective servants of the Imperium. Within the vast bureaucracy of the Adeptus Administratum, entire departments are dedicated to cataloging and monitoring Abhuman populations. The Imperium's pragmatic side recognizes the value of certain Abhuman strains in colonizing hostile environments or serving in specialized military roles. However, this acceptance is always tempered by suspicion and the ever-present threat of purges should an Abhuman population be deemed too divergent. The Ecclesiarchy, the state church of the Imperium, grapples with theological questions raised by the existence of Abhumans. Are these altered humans still part of the Emperor's flock? Do their souls remain pure despite their physical deviations? Different factions within the church argue fiercely over these points, leading to varying treatment of Abhumans across different sectors of Imperial space. In the military sphere, the Astra Militarum makes extensive use of certain Abhuman strains. Ogren Brute squads serve as shock troops, while Ratling snipers provide precision fire support. These specialized units fill crucial tactical niches, yet their inhuman nature often leads to segregation and mistrust within the ranks of the Imperial Guard. The Inquisition, ever vigilant for threats to humanity, keeps a close watch on Abhuman populations. Radical Inquisitors may see potential in cultivating and directing Abhuman evolution, while their Puritan counterparts advocate for strict control or outright extermination of divergent strains. This internal conflict within the Inquisition mirrors the larger debate about the place of Abhumans in Imperial society. Planetary governors overseeing worlds with significant Abhuman populations face unique challenges. Balancing the economic and strategic value of Abhuman labor against the risk of genetic contamination of the baseline human population requires constant vigilance and often harsh measures. In the broader context of galactic threats, Abhumans serve as a reminder of humanity's adaptability and resilience. In a universe where entire planets can be lost to Tyranid hive fleets or consumed by warp storms, the ability of humans to survive and even thrive in extreme environments becomes a twisted point of pride for some Imperial ideologues. The existence of Abhumans also raises questions about the nature of the Emperor's vision for humanity. Did the Master of Mankind foresee the necessity of such radical adaptations? Or are Abhumans a deviation from his grand plan to be tolerated only out of grim necessity? As we explore the various Abhuman strains and their roles in the Imperium, these contextual elements will provide a framework for understanding their precarious position in the grim darkness of the far future. The story of Abhumans is ultimately a reflection of the Imperium itself, pragmatic yet dogmatic, adaptable yet resistant to change, and always teetering on the brink of triumph or annihilation. Humanity's exodus from Terra during the Dark Age of technology scattered the seeds of mankind across the galaxy. As colonies took root on diverse worlds, the pressures of alien environments began to shape human physiology and culture in myriad ways. Isolated from their ancestral home, these far-flung populations embarked on divergent evolutionary paths, laying the groundwork for what would later be classified as Abhumans. On toxic worlds with corrosive atmospheres, humans developed thicker, more resilient skin and enhanced respiratory systems. High-gravity planets gave rise to squat, muscular forms better suited to withstand crushing pressures. In the depths of oceanic worlds, webbed digits and gills emerged as adaptations to aquatic life. Each unique environment presented its own set of challenges, molding humanity into forms barely recognizable to their Terran ancestors. The Age of Strife, a tumultuous period marked by warp storms and the collapse of interstellar civilization, further isolated these divergent human populations. Cut off from the rest of humanity for millennia, some colonies regressed technologically, while others pushed the boundaries of genetic manipulation. This era of separation cemented the physiological and cultural differences that would come to define various Abhuman strains. When the Emperor of Mankind launched the Great Crusade to reunite humanity under the banner of the Imperium, his forces encountered these altered human populations. Initial reactions varied wildly, from outright extermination to cautious integration. The Emperor's vision of a united human galaxy had to contend with the reality of a species fragmented not just by distance, but by biology itself. Primarchs, the Emperor's genetically engineered sons, played crucial roles in shaping the Imperium's early policies towards Abhumans. Some, like Vulcan of the Salamanders, advocated for compassion and inclusion. Others, such as Mortarion of the Death Guard, viewed any deviation from the human norm with suspicion and hostility. These conflicting perspectives would continue to influence Imperial policy long after the Horus Heresy. The classification and codification of Abhuman strains became a monumental task for the fledgling Imperium. Scholars and geneticists worked tirelessly to catalog the myriad forms of altered humanity encountered during the Great Crusade. This process led to the establishment of the Abhuman status, a complex system for determining the acceptability of divergent human strains within Imperial society. Certain Abhuman populations quickly proved their worth to the expanding Imperium. The squats, adapted to life on high-gravity worlds, became valued for their engineering skills and tenacity in combat. Ratlings, with their keen eyesight and small stature, found a niche as snipers and scouts in Imperial forces. These early successes paved the way for limited acceptance of some Abhuman strains. However, for every Abhuman population integrated into the Imperium, countless others were deemed too divergent and marked for extermination. Entire campaigns were waged to purge worlds of what were considered dangerously mutated human offshoots. The line between acceptable variation and heretical mutation was often blurry, leading to tragic misunderstandings and unnecessary bloodshed. The Adeptus Mechanicus took a particular interest in Abhuman development, viewing it as a natural experiment in human adaptation. Magos biologists conducted extensive studies on various Abhuman strains, seeking to understand the limits of human genetic plasticity. Some even saw potential in directing Abhuman evolution to create specialized subsets of humanity better suited to serve the Imperium in specific roles. As the Imperium solidified its power, the treatment of Abhumans became increasingly codified. The Lex Imperialis, the vast body of imperial law, included numerous statutes and regulations governing the rights and restrictions placed on recognized Abhuman strains. These laws often varied from sector to sector, reflecting the diverse attitudes towards Abhumans across the galaxy. The ecclesiarchy's stance on Abhumans evolved over time, mirroring the broader imperial attitude. Initial doctrine often condemned all deviations from the pure human form as affronts to the emperor's vision. However, pragmatism and the need for manpower in the face of constant threats led to a more nuanced theological approach. Some branches of the imperial cult even developed specific rituals and blessings for loyal Abhuman populations, acknowledging their service to the Emperor despite their altered forms. Throughout the millennia, numerous Abhuman populations have risen to prominence only to face extinction or exile. The squats, once a valued part of the Imperium, were virtually wiped out by Tyrannid invasions. This loss served as a stark reminder of the precarious position even the most accepted Abhuman strains occupy within the Imperial hierarchy. The emergence of new Abhuman strains continues to this day, as isolated human populations adapt to extreme environments or fall victim to mutagenic influences. Each new discovery presents the Imperium with fresh challenges, forcing a re-evaluation of policies and attitudes towards human divergence. In the 41st Millennium, the legacy of these divergent evolutionary paths remains a contentious issue. Abhumans stand as living reminders of humanity's adaptability and the harsh realities of survival in a galaxy fraught with dangers. Their story is one of resilience, tragedy, and the ongoing struggle to define the boundaries of what it means to be human in a universe where the very fabric of reality is constantly under threat. The Rangdan genocides marked a turning point in the Imperium's stance on Abhumans. During this series of apocalyptic conflicts, several Abhuman strains proved invaluable in combating the Xenos threat. Their contributions led to a reassessment of Abhuman potential in Imperial military doctrine, paving the way for increased integration of certain strains into the Astra Militarum. Simultaneously, the Gland War erupted on the fringes of Imperial space. A faction of rogue geneticists, inspired by Abhuman adaptability, created monstrous human offshoots designed for combat. This conflict highlighted the fine line between beneficial adaptation and dangerous mutation, reinforcing the Imperium's cautious approach to genetic manipulation. The Nova Terra Interregnum, a period of civil strife within the Imperium, saw several Abhuman populations caught in the crossfire. Some sided with separatist factions, while others remained loyal to Terra. This era reshaped Imperial policies towards Abhumans, with loyalty becoming as crucial a factor as genetic stability in determining a strain's acceptance. On the Forge world of Griffin of 4, Adeptus Mechanicus experiments in guided human evolution led to the creation of the Gryphs. These avian-influenced Abhumans briefly thrived before their homeworld's destruction by Tyrannids. The loss of Griffon 4 served as a stark reminder of the vulnerability of even the most promising Abhuman strains. The months of shame following the First War for Armageddon brought Abhuman rights to the forefront of Imperial politics. As the Inquisition purged human populations exposed to chaos, debates raged over the treatment of loyal Abhuman defenders. This conflict between pragmatism and paranoia would shape Abhuman policies for centuries to come. In the Damocles Gulf, Tau expansion forced the Imperium to rely heavily on Abhuman auxilia. Ogren shock troops and rattling marksmen proved crucial in stemming the Tau tide. Their success in this campaign led to increased recruitment of Abhumans in frontier regions where their specialized abilities could be put to optimal use. The discovery of the Adeptus Ministorum world of Sanctus Reach, populated entirely by an unrecorded Abhuman strain, sparked a fierce ideological battle within the ecclesiarchy. Debates over the spiritual purity of these divergent humans threatened to split the imperial cult until a fragile compromise was reached, allowing the population to be gradually integrated into the wider Imperium. During the 13th Black Crusade, several Abhuman regiments distinguished themselves in the defense of Cadia. Their sacrifices, particularly those of the Ogren Charonite squads, were instrumental in delaying the planet's fall. This heroic last stand reshaped public perception of Abhumans in many Imperial sectors. The onset of the Noctis Saturna following the fall of Cadia led to the isolation of countless human worlds. Reports of rapid mutations among stranded populations began to filter back to Terra as warp storms subsided. The Imperium now faces the challenge of assessing these potentially new Abhuman strains, balancing the need for manpower against the risks of genetic instability. In the Nachman Gauntlet, a vital route through the Great Rift, Abhuman labor proved essential in establishing and maintaining Imperial supply lines. The hostile environment of this narrow passage accelerated mutation rates among human workers, leading to the emergence of the Nachman Gauntlet strain. Humans adapted to survive in the reality-warped conditions of the Rift. The Primaris Marine project, while focused on enhancing baseline humans, reignited debates about the potential for guided human evolution. Some radical factions within the Adeptus Mechanicus proposed similar enhancement programs for abhuman strains, sparking controversy and resistance from conservative elements within the Imperium. On the quarantined world of Vespertine, an isolated human population developed extraordinary psychic abilities along with physical mutations. The discovery of this potentially powerful abhuman strain led to a tense standoff between the Adeptus Astra Telepathica, eager to study and possibly recruit these psychers, and hardline factions advocating for the planet's destruction. The devastation of Baal saw unlikely cooperation between Blood Angel's successor chapters and local abhuman populations. Fighting side by side against the Tyranid menace, these joint forces challenged long-held prejudices and opened new possibilities for abhuman integration in even the most traditionalist imperial institutions. In the wake of the Indomitus Crusade, numerous reports emerged of Abhumans exhibiting increased resistance to chaos corruption. Studies conducted by the Ordo Malleus suggested that certain abhuman physiological adaptations might provide a natural defense against warp influence. This discovery has led to renewed interest in abhuman potential among some radical inquisitors. The unearthing of ancient squat strongholds in the galactic core reignited hope for the survival of this once-thought extinct abhuman strain. Efforts to re-establish contact with these isolated populations have become a priority for several Adeptus Mechanicus explorator fleets, eager to recover lost technologies and skilled allies. On the frontier world of New Tanith, descendants of the famous Tanith First and Only Regiment underwent rapid adaptation to their harsh new environment. Within a few generations, notable genetic divergences appeared, raising questions about the classification of populations undergoing active environmental adaptation. The emergence of the Nexus Arrangement, a loosely allied group of abhuman worlds in the Ghoul Stars region, presented the Imperium with a complex diplomatic challenge. Negotiations with this confederation have tested Imperial policies on abhuman autonomy and self-governance, setting potential precedents for future interactions with divergent human populations. In the depths of the Hadex anomaly, a time-warped region of space Imperial expeditions encountered human populations that had undergone millennia of accelerated evolution. The discovery of these chronodivergent strains has forced the Adeptus Administratum to consider new categories in their abhuman classification system. As the 42nd Millennium dawns, the role of abhumans in the Imperium continues to evolve. Each new discovery, conflict, and adaptation adds another layer to the complex tapestry of human diversity in the grim darkness of the far future. The story of abhumans remains one of struggle, resilience, and the ever-present question of what it truly means to be human in a galaxy beset by unimaginable horrors. Abhumans embody the paradoxical nature of the Imperium itself, simultaneously representing humanity's adaptability and the fear of divergence from the Emperor's perceived vision. Their existence challenges the very definition of humanity in a universe where the line between human and monster is often blurred. The physiological adaptations of various abhuman strains offer fascinating insights into the plasticity of the human genome. Ogrins, with their massive size and enhanced musculature, demonstrate the potential for human adaptation to high-gravity environments. Their increased bone density and reinforced skeletal structure allow them to thrive in conditions that would cripple an unmodified human. However, these physical enhancements come at the cost of reduced cognitive abilities, raising ethical questions about the trade-offs involved in extreme environmental adaptation. Ratlings, in contrast, showcase adaptation to low-gravity worlds and confined spaces. Their diminutive stature and keen senses make them ideally suited for roles requiring stealth and precision. The Ratlings' enhanced metabolism, which allows them to subsist on minimal resources, points to the human body's capacity to optimize energy utilization in resource-scarce environments. Yet, their tendency towards kleptomania and hedonistic behavior hints at the psychological impacts of physiological changes. The squats, despite their near extinction, remain a testament to human resilience. Their stocky builds and remarkable longevity evolved as responses to the harsh conditions of high-gravity worlds rich in heavy metals. The squat's legendary stubbornness and strong clan-based social structures reveal how environmental pressures can shape not only physical characteristics, but also cultural and psychological traits. Navigators, while not traditionally classified as Abhumans, occupy a unique position in this spectrum. Their third eye, capable of perceiving the warp, represents perhaps the most extreme sanctioned mutation in the Imperium. The Navigator House's political power and essential role in warp travel have ensured their acceptance, demonstrating how utility can override even the most ingrained prejudices against genetic divergence. The Imperium's classification system for Abhumans reveals much about its approach to human diversity. The distinction between Homo sapiens variatus, sanctioned Abhumans, and Homo sapiens minimus, unsanctioned strains, is often arbitrary, based more on political expediency than scientific criteria. This classification system serves as a tool for control, allowing the Imperium to exploit useful abhuman traits while maintaining ideological purity. Philosophical and theological debates surrounding Abhumans cut to the core of Imperial ideology. The concept of the divine human form, championed by many Imperial cult factions, clashes with the reality of Abhuman existence. Some theologians argue that Abhuman adaptations are part of the Emperor's grand plan, allowing humanity to claim even the most inhospitable worlds. Others view them as regrettable but necessary divergences, to be tolerated only until technology can restore them to the pure human form. The psychological impact of being classified as Abhuman cannot be overstated. Many Abhuman strains internalize Imperial prejudices, developing complex cultural mechanisms to cope with their status as tolerated deviants. This often manifests in fierce loyalty to the Imperium, as Abhumans strive to prove their worth and humanity through service. The Ogrins' childlike devotion to their commissars and the Ratlings' eagerness to volunteer for dangerous scouting missions exemplify this phenomenon. From a strategic perspective, Abhumans represent a valuable resource in the Imperium's endless wars. Their specialized traits allow for the colonization and defense of worlds that might otherwise be uninhabitable by baseline humans. This advantage comes with the logistical challenge of integrating diverse physiologies into standardized military structures. The Departamento Munitorum's efforts to develop equipment and rations suitable for various Abhuman strains highlight the practical difficulties of maintaining a diverse fighting force. The Adeptus Mechanicus's interest in Abhumans goes beyond mere curiosity. Some tech priests view Abhuman adaptation as a natural form of the machine cult's quest for optimization. This perspective has led to controversial experiments aimed at cultivating new Abhuman strains for specific purposes. The ethical implications of such endeavors are hotly debated, even within the normally pragmatic ranks of the Mechanicus. Inquisitorial attitudes towards Abhumans vary wildly between ordos and individual inquisitors. The Ordo Hereticus often takes a hard line, viewing extreme divergence as a potential gateway to chaos corruption. In contrast, the Ordo Xenos sometimes sees value in Abhuman strains as weapons against alien threats. This divergence of opinion within the Inquisition itself underscores the complexity of the Abhuman issue. The concept of acceptable divergence is constantly evolving within Imperial doctrine. Traits that might have led to purges in one era could be tolerated or even cultivated in another, depending on the Imperium's needs. This fluid approach to genetic deviation creates an atmosphere of uncertainty for many Abhuman populations, their fate tied to the shifting tides of Imperial policy. The Abhumans serve as a mirror to baseline humanity, reflecting both its potential for adaptation and its deep-seated fears of change. The revulsion many humans feel towards Abhuman strains often stems from a subconscious recognition of their own potential for mutation. This psychological dynamic fuels much of the discrimination Abhumans face, even as their service remains crucial to the Imperium's survival. The role of Abhumans in Imperial society raises profound questions about the nature of humanity itself. In a galaxy where humans can be as diverse as the worlds they inhabit, the definition of human becomes increasingly abstract. The Imperium's struggles with this question reflect broader themes of identity, belonging, and the cost of survival in a hostile universe. As the Imperium faces ever-growing threats, the pragmatic value of Abhuman adaptation may yet outweigh ideological purity. The potential for humanity to evolve new traits in response to changing galactic conditions could prove crucial in the species' long-term survival. However, this path risks further fragmentation of the human race, potentially realizing the Emperor's ancient fears of a divided humanity. The story of Abhumans in the 41st Millennium is ultimately one of survival against all odds. It is a testament to humanity's enduring spirit and capacity for change, even in the face of unimaginable challenges. As the galaxy plunges ever deeper into darkness, the fate of these divergent children of mankind may well hold the key to humanity's future among the stars. The Abhuman question in the Imperium of Man ignites fierce debates and conflicting interests among various factions. Each group's stance reflects deeper ideological divides within the galaxy-spanning empire. At the forefront of Abhuman acceptance stands the Astra Militarum. Imperial Guard commanders value the unique abilities of sanctioned Abhuman strains. Ogren brute squads provide unparalleled close combat strength, while rattling snipers offer precision fire support in critical operations. These military leaders argue for increased integration of Abhuman units, citing their effectiveness in combating the myriad threats facing the Imperium. Opposing this pragmatic view, hardline factions within the ecclesiarchy condemn Abhumans as affronts to the Emperor's divine plan. Zealous preachers whip their congregations into frenzies, calling for purges of mutant filth. This radical wing of the Imperial cult sees Abhumans as stepping stones to heresy, their very existence a temptation towards further deviation from the sacred human form. The Adeptus Mechanicus approaches the Abhuman question from a distinctly analytical perspective. Magos biologists study Abhuman physiology with keen interest, viewing their adaptations as valuable data in understanding human genetic potential. Some tech priests advocate for controlled breeding programs to cultivate beneficial traits, while others warn of the risks inherent in tampering with the human genome. Within the labyrinthine structure of the Adeptus Administratum, entire departments grapple with the logistical challenges posed by Abhuman populations. Census takers and tithe assessors debate the proper classification and value of Abhuman labor. Some administrators see potential in leveraging Abhuman traits for specialized roles, while others balk at the complexities of integrating non-standard humans into imperial bureaucracy. The Inquisition, ever vigilant for threats to humanity, finds itself divided on the Abhuman issue. Puritan inquisitors view genetic deviation as a potential vector for chaos corruption, advocating for strict controls or outright elimination of Abhuman strains. Their radical counterparts see potential in Abhuman adaptability, considering controlled divergence as a possible weapon against the Imperium's enemies. Planetary governors whose worlds host significant Abhuman populations often find themselves walking a political tightrope. Some embrace their Abhuman subjects, recognizing their value in industry or defense. Others implement harsh segregation policies, fearing contamination of their pure human stock. These local leaders must balance the practical benefits of Abhuman labor against the risk of censure from Imperial authorities. The Adeptus Arbites approach Abhuman-related issues from a perspective of law enforcement. Some precincts have developed specialized units to deal with unique challenges posed by Abhuman criminals, while others struggle to adapt existing legal frameworks to encompass Abhuman rights and responsibilities. Rogue traders operating on the fringes of Imperial space often take a more open-minded approach to Abhumans. Many see potential profit in Abhuman traits, whether through recruitment for their crews or exploitation of unique abilities. Some rogue traders have even been known to transport Abhuman colonies to new worlds, viewing them as valuable assets in claiming and developing frontier planets. Among the Adeptus Astartes, opinions on Abhumans vary greatly between chapters. Chapters like the Salamanders, known for their humanity, may view Abhumans with compassion. Others, such as the puritanical Black Templars, regard them with suspicion or outright hostility. Space Marine attitudes often influence broader Imperial policy in the sectors they protect. The Navigator houses occupy a unique position in the Abhuman debate. While technically mutants themselves, their essential role in warp travel grants them unprecedented power and acceptance. Some Navigators advocate for broader acceptance of beneficial mutations, while others jealously guard their privileged status, opposing any expansion of Abhuman rights. Certain radical factions within the Imperium see Abhumans as the key to humanity's future. These groups, often operating in secret, envision a transhuman future where environmental adaptation is embraced rather than shunned. Their controversial views put them at odds with the conservative majority, but resonate with those who believe humanity must evolve to survive. On the opposite end of the spectrum, purist movements call for the eradication of all Abhuman strains. These extremists view any deviation from the baseline human form as an existential threat to the species. Their rhetoric often gains traction in times of crisis when fear of the other runs high. The Abhuman communities themselves are far from monolithic in their views. Some strive for greater integration into Imperial society, emphasizing their loyalty and utility to the Imperium. Others embrace their differences, developing distinct cultures and pushing for autonomy. Conflicts between these different approaches often play out within Abhuman populations, further complicating their relationship with the broader Imperium. Frontier worlds, faced with harsh environments and limited resources, often develop more pragmatic attitudes towards Abhumans. Necessity drives acceptance, as specialized Abhuman traits prove crucial for survival. These worlds sometimes become flashpoints of conflict when their policies clash with more orthodox Imperial doctrines. The Adeptus Ministorum finds itself internally divided on the spiritual status of Abhumans. Some clergy extend the Emperor's light to all who serve, regardless of form, while others preach that deviation from the human norm is a path to damnation. This theological debate often spills over into the political realm, influencing Imperial policy at the highest levels. Certain Astra Telepathica factions take great interest in Abhuman strains that display heightened psychic potential. These groups argue for careful study and potential cultivation of such abilities, seeing them as valuable assets in humanity's psychic awakening. Their views are countered by those who fear the increased risk of warp corruption in mutated psychics. As the Imperium faces ever-growing external threats, pragmatists across various Imperial institutions argue for a re-evaluation of Abhuman policies. They propose leveraging the full spectrum of human adaptation to combat alien invaders, chaos incursions, and other existential dangers. This approach gains traction in some quarters, but faces stiff resistance from traditionalists. The Abhuman question remains a contentious issue, reflecting broader tensions within the Imperium. It embodies the eternal struggle between pragmatism and dogma, adaptation and tradition, unity and diversity. As the galaxy plunges deeper into conflict, the fate of these divergent children of mankind hangs in the balance, their story a microcosm of humanity's broader struggle for survival in the grim darkness of the far future. The Abhuman saga reaches its zenith in the tumultuous era following the Great Rift's formation. This cataclysmic event, splitting the galaxy asunder, catalyzes a series of crises and opportunities that bring the Abhuman question to the forefront of Imperial politics and military strategy. On the Forge world Graia, an unprecedented alliance forms between the Adeptus Mechanicus and a newly discovered Abhuman strain adapted for hyper-efficient data processing. These cognito-sapiens prove instrumental in decrypting chaotic transmissions, providing crucial intelligence in the war against the ruinous powers. Their success sparks fierce debate within the Mechanicus, with some tech priests advocating for the cultivation of specialized Abhuman breeds to serve specific technological niches. Simultaneously, on the Death World Catachan, long-isolated human populations begin exhibiting extreme adaptations to their hostile environment. Imperial observers report individuals with chameleon-like skin capable of blending with the deadly flora and enhanced reflexes that rival those of Astartes. The Departmentum Munitorum scrambles to assess the military potential of these Catachan evolved, while purist factions call for immediate quarantine and purging. In the Ghoul Stars region, a confederation of Abhuman worlds declares independence from the Imperium, citing centuries of discrimination and exploitation. This divergent league quickly gains support from radical rogue traders and fringe Mechanicus sects, presenting the Imperium with a complex political and military dilemma. The situation escalates as the League's envoys reach out to other Abhuman populations across Imperial space, sowing seeds of dissent and dreams of autonomy. The hive world Necromunda becomes a flashpoint in the Abhuman controversy as gangs of mutants and Abhumans rise from the Underhive, challenging the rule of the noble houses. Led by a charismatic figure known only as the Evolved, these insurgents demand recognition and equal rights. The conflict draws the attention of the Inquisition, with different ordos clashing over the appropriate response to this potential revolution. On the fringes of the Imperium Nihilus, cut off from Terra's light by the Great Rift, desperate Imperial commanders increasingly rely on Abhuman auxilia to hold the line against chaos incursions. Reports filter back of entire regiments composed of previously unsanctioned strains, their loyalty bought with promises of Imperial recognition. This pragmatic approach horrifies Orthodox factions who fear the long-term consequences of such compromise. The Adeptus Astartes find themselves drawn into the Abhuman debate when the Salamanders chapter takes custody of a group of void-adapted humans discovered drifting in the remnants of a destroyed space hulk. These void-born display an uncanny ability to survive in the vacuum of space, raising questions about the potential for human adaptation to even the most extreme environments. The Salamanders' efforts to protect and study these unique individuals put them at odds with more conservative chapters. In a shocking development, an Ordo Xenos Inquisitor uncovers evidence suggesting that certain Abhuman strains may possess a natural resistance to genistealer infection. This discovery sends shockwaves through the Imperium, with some hailing it as humanity's potential salvation against the Tyrannid threat. Others, however, see it as a dangerous temptation that could lead to widespread genetic tampering and corruption. The Forge world Styges VIII becomes the site of a groundbreaking experiment as radical elements within the Adeptus Mechanicus attempt to create a new Abhuman strain specifically designed for combat against Necron forces. These null flesh beings, engineered to disrupt Necron energy fields, represent a controversial leap in guided human evolution. News of the project leaks, sparking a furious response from purist factions and drawing the attention of multiple inquisitorial ordos. In the aftermath of a devastating chaos invasion, the agri-world IAX witnesses the spontaneous mutation of its population in response to warp-tainted crops. To the astonishment of Imperial observers, these mutations appear to grant a measure of resistance against chaos corruption. The ecclesiarchy becomes bitterly divided over whether these warp-touched humans are blessed by the Emperor's will or damned by their exposure to chaos energies. The Adeptus Arbites face an unprecedented challenge on the hive world Medusa Fifth as Abhuman rights movements gain traction among the working classes. Strikes and riots erupt across multiple hive cities, with baseline humans joining Abhuman protesters in demanding reforms. The situation forces planetary governors across the sector to reevaluate their policies, lest the unrest spread to other worlds. On the frontier planet Tanith's Rest, a community of Tanith refugees undergoes rapid adaptation to their new home's harsh conditions. Within a few generations, they develop heightened senses and an almost supernatural ability to navigate dense forests. Imperial authorities debate whether to classify this emerging strain as a new abhuman type or simply as highly specialized baseline humans, highlighting the often arbitrary nature of such distinctions. The navigator houses find their monopoly on warp travel threatened by the emergence of the Stargazers, an abhuman strain capable of limited warp navigation without the need for Geller fields. This development sends shockwaves through Imperial high society and economic structures, with powerful factions maneuvering to either suppress or exploit this potentially revolutionary ability. In a bold move, a coalition of planetary governors from worlds with significant abhuman populations petitions the High Lords of Terra for reforms in Imperial classification and rights for stable abhuman strains. This unprecedented political action forces the highest levels of Imperial governance to confront the abhuman question directly, potentially reshaping policies that have stood for millennia. As these events unfold, the Imperium stands at a crossroads. The abhuman question, long simmering in the background, now demands answers that will shape the future of humanity in the galaxy. The choices made in this crucial period will determine whether the Imperium embraces the full spectrum of human potential or clings to an increasingly unsustainable vision of genetic purity. The fate of billions hangs in the balance as ancient prejudices clash with pragmatic necessities. In the grim darkness of the far future, the story of the Abhumans becomes a mirror reflecting humanity's struggle to adapt and survive in a hostile universe. Their journey from shunned outsiders to potential saviors embodies the Imperium's own tortuous path between stagnation and evolution, dogma and pragmatism, unity and diversity. The tumultuous events surrounding the abhuman question reverberate across the Imperium, reshaping policies, perceptions, and the very fabric of human society in the 41st Millennium. The repercussions of these upheavals continue to unfold, leaving an indelible mark on the future of mankind. In the realm of Imperial military doctrine, a paradigm shift occurs. The Departamento Munitorum, recognizing the strategic value of specialized abhuman units, implements sweeping reforms. New combat doctrines emerge, integrating abhuman forces more fully into the Imperial war machine. Ogryn heavy assault units become a common sight on the front lines, while Ratling sniper teams gain elevated status in special operations. The Forge World Graia's successful collaboration with the Cognito Sapiens leads to a revolution in data analysis across the Adeptus Mechanicus. This breakthrough accelerates technological innovation, particularly in the fields of cogitator design and machine spirit interfaces. However, it also intensifies the ideological divide within the Mechanicus, with traditionalists warning of the dangers of over-reliance on mutant cognition. On Catachan, the emergence of hyper-adapted humans prompts a re-evaluation of the planet's status. The Adeptus Terra designates Catachan as a Homo Evolutus sanctuary, granting it unprecedented autonomy in exchange for providing elite troops to the Astra Militarum. This decision sets a precedent, with other Death Worlds petitioning for similar status. The Divergent League's declaration of independence in the Ghoul Stars region triggers a series of diplomatic crises. After initial skirmishes, the Imperium, stretched thin by numerous threats, reluctantly enters negotiations. The resulting Ghoul Stars Accord establishes a semi-autonomous abhuman protectorate bound to the Imperium through carefully negotiated treaties. This uneasy arrangement becomes a model for managing Abhuman majority regions across the galaxy. Necromunda's Abhuman uprising leads to sweeping societal changes. The noble houses, fearing total loss of control, implement reforms granting limited representation to underhive communities. This shift in power dynamics ripples across other hive worlds, with Abhuman labor movements gaining traction and forcing concessions from planetary authorities. In the Imperium Nihilus, necessity births innovation. The reliance on unsanctioned Abhuman auxilia evolves into a formal system of adaptive response forces. These specialized units, composed of locally adapted human strains, prove crucial in combating the myriad threats plaguing the Dark Imperium. Their success prompts calls for similar programs in more stable regions of Imperial space. The Salamander's protection of the Voidborn leads to a schism within the Adeptus Astartes. Several chapters inspired by the Salamander's stance begin actively recruiting from Abhuman populations seeking to harness their unique traits. This practice remains controversial, with traditionalist chapters denouncing it as a deviation from the Emperor's vision for his space marines. The discovery of genestealer-resistant Abhuman strains revolutionizes the Imperium's approach to combating Tyranid incursions. Ordo Xanos Inquisitors, in an unprecedented move, sanctioned the establishment of purity enclaves, isolated communities of resistant Abhumans used to create cordons around suspected genestealer infestations. This strategy proves effective, but raises ethical concerns about the treatment of these human barriers. Styges Theae's Null Flesh project yields mixed results. While the engineered Abhumans demonstrate remarkable effectiveness against Necron forces, they also exhibit unstable mutations and shortened lifespans. The Adeptus Mechanicus classifies the project as a qualified success, continuing research while implementing strict controls on the creation and deployment of these living weapons. The emergence of warp-resistant humans on IX forces a theological reassessment within the ecclesiarchy. After years of fierce debate, the Synod Majoris issues the Decree of Divine Adaptation, cautiously acknowledging that certain mutations may be manifestations of the Emperor's will. This doctrinal shift allows for greater acceptance of stable Abhuman strains, though hardline sects continue to preach genetic purity. Medusa V's Abhuman rights movement spreads across neighboring sectors, evolving into a broader push for social reform. The Adeptus Arbites, struggling to contain the unrest, implement new protocols for dealing with Abhuman populations. These changes, while falling short of full equality, mark a significant improvement in the legal status of sanctioned Abhuman strains. The Tanith's rest adaptation phenomenon leads to the creation of a new category in Imperial classification, Neo-Sapiens. This designation applies to human populations undergoing rapid beneficial adaptation to extreme environments. The Adeptus Administratum establishes specialized departments to monitor and assess these emerging strains, streamlining their integration into Imperial society. The rise of the Stargazers sends shockwaves through the Imperial economy. While the Navigator houses maintain their dominance in long-range warp travel, the Stargazers find a niche in short-range jumps and emergency navigation. This development increases the overall safety and efficiency of Imperial shipping, spurring economic growth in frontier regions. The High Lords of Terra, faced with mounting pressure from the Planetary Governors Coalition, convene a special session to address Abhuman rights. The resulting Codex Abhuman establishes new guidelines for the classification, treatment, and utilization of stable Abhuman strains. While far from granting full equality, this landmark document provides a framework for greater Abhuman integration into Imperial society. These changes, however, do not come without cost. Hardline purist factions, feeling threatened by the shifting status quo, increase their activities across the Imperium. Incidents of anti-Abhuman violence spike in some sectors, while radical Puritan cults gain followings on worlds resistant to change. The Inquisition finds itself increasingly occupied with monitoring these groups, walking a fine line between preserving order and allowing for necessary societal evolution. As the Imperium adapts to these new realities, unforeseen consequences emerge. Some worlds, seeking to gain the advantages of abhuman traits, engage in dangerous genetic experimentation. The Adeptus Mechanicus struggles to regulate these activities, leading to tragedy when ill-conceived projects spawn unstable mutations. Yet, amidst these challenges, signs of hope emerge. Abhuman regiments, given the opportunity to prove their worth, distinguish themselves in battles across the galaxy. Their sacrifices and victories slowly erode centuries of prejudice, fostering a growing sense of unity in the face of common threats. The Abhuman question, once a subject of scorn and fear, becomes a catalyst for broader discussions about the nature of humanity and its future among the stars. As the Imperium grapples with existential threats on all fronts, the acceptance and integration of Abhuman strains increasingly appears not as a dilution of humanity, but as the key to its survival and evolution in a hostile universe. In the grim darkness of the 41st Millennium, the story of the Abhumans becomes a testament to humanity's enduring spirit and capacity for change. Their journey from shunned outsiders to valued contributors reflects the Imperium's own struggle to adapt and persevere against overwhelming odds. As new challenges loom on the horizon, the diversity of human forms and abilities may well prove to be mankind's greatest strength in the battles to come. The Abhuman narrative in Warhammer 40,000 serves as a rich tapestry of symbolism and themes, reflecting the broader motifs of the grimdark universe while offering unique perspectives on humanity's struggle for survival and identity. At its core, the Abhuman question embodies the theme of adaptation versus purity. This dichotomy mirrors the Imperium's constant battle between necessary change and rigid dogma. Abhumans symbolize the potential for human evolution, a concept both tantalizing and terrifying in a galaxy beset by myriad threats. Their very existence challenges the notion of a static, pure human form, forcing contemplation on the nature of humanity itself. The treatment of Abhumans within Imperial society serves as a stark metaphor for intolerance and fear of the other. Their struggles for acceptance parallel real-world issues of discrimination and prejudice. Yet, in the grimdark future, these societal tensions are magnified to galactic proportions, where the stakes of inclusion or exclusion can determine the fate of entire worlds. Abhuman strains like the Ogren represent the theme of sacrifice in service to a greater cause. Their childlike loyalty and willingness to face certain death for the Imperium highlight the tragic nobility often found in the most unexpected places within the 40k universe. This loyalty, juxtaposed with their mutant status, creates a poignant commentary on the nature of devotion and the price of acceptance. The Ratlings, with their reputation for kleptomania and hedonism, embody the theme of human vices persisting even in the face of genetic divergence. Their presence in the narrative serves as a reminder that, no matter how far humanity may evolve physically, certain aspects of human nature remain constant. This continuity of character across physiological changes raises questions about the essence of humanity. Squats, despite their near extinction, symbolize resilience and the enduring nature of human culture. Their stubborn adherence to traditions and clan structures in the face of imperial homogenization represents the theme of cultural preservation against the tide of enforced uniformity. Their tragic fate also serves as a grim reminder of the fragility of even the most established Abhuman strains. The Navigator houses, while not traditionally classified as Abhuman, represent the theme of necessary evil within the Imperium. Their acceptance despite obvious mutation symbolizes the pragmatism that often overrides dogma in the face of necessity. This contradiction highlights the often hypocritical nature of imperial policies and the lengths to which humanity will go to ensure its survival. Emerging Abhuman strains adapted to specific environmental challenges serve as metaphors for humanity's potential to overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles. whether evolved to survive in the vacuum of space or resist the corrupting influence of chaos. These new forms of humanity symbolize hope and the indomitable human spirit in the face of a hostile universe. The internal conflicts within Abhuman communities mirror the larger theme of unity versus division prevalent in the Imperium. Some Abhumans strive for integration, while others seek autonomy, reflecting the constant tension between the need for human solidarity and the desire for self-determination. Abhumans also embody the theme of the price of progress. Their adaptations, while often beneficial, frequently come at the cost of lost connection to their human origins. This trade-off symbolizes the broader sacrifices humanity must make to survive in the unforgiving galaxy of the 41st Millennium. The Imperium's fluctuating policies towards Abhumans represent the theme of pragmatism versus ideology. The acceptance of some strains and rejection of others highlight the often arbitrary nature of doctrine and the real-world compromises required to maintain a galaxy-spanning empire. In many narratives, Abhumans serve as a bridge between humanity and the alien, embodying the theme of understanding versus xenophobia. Their existence challenges the Imperium's stark division between human and xenos, offering a more nuanced view of life in the galaxy. The genetic instability of some Abhuman strains symbolizes the theme of the corrupting influence of change. This reflects the broader 40k theme of mutation as a path to damnation, yet also offers a counterpoint in the form of beneficial adaptations. This duality creates a complex dialogue about the nature of change in a universe where stagnation and evolution are equally dangerous. Abhuman uprisings and movements for autonomy mirror the theme of revolution against oppression. These conflicts force consideration of justice and rights in a society where such concepts are often overlooked in the name of survival. The responses to these movements reflect the tension between maintaining order and addressing legitimate grievances. The use of Abhumans in Imperial military forces symbolizes the theme of unity in diversity. Regiments composed of various human subspecies serving alongside baseline humans offer a vision of strength through difference, contrasting sharply with the Imperium's usual stance on uniformity. Inquisitorial debates over Abhuman classification and rights represent the theme of the search for truth in a universe of lies and half-truths. The often arbitrary nature of these classifications highlights the subjective nature of truth in a galaxy where facts are obscured by millennia of superstition and lost knowledge. The potential for Abhumans to resist certain Xenos influences, such as genestealer infection, introduces the theme of finding strength in perceived weakness. This concept challenges the Imperium's notions of purity and offers a new perspective on the value of diversity in facing galactic threats. Ultimately, the Abhuman narrative in Warhammer 40,000 serves as a lens through which to examine the human condition in extremis. It poses fundamental questions about identity, adaptability, and the limits of what can be considered human. In doing so, it reflects the grim, morally ambiguous nature of the 40k universe, while offering glimmers of hope and humanity in the most unexpected forms. The story of Abhumans is, at its heart, a tale of humanity's struggle against both external threats and its own nature. It embodies the eternal conflict between the need to change and the desire to remain true to one's origins. In the grim darkness of the far future, the Abhuman question stands as a testament to the complexity of human existence and the myriad forms that humanity might take in its quest for survival among the stars. The Abhuman saga in Warhammer 40,000 presents a fascinating exploration of humanity's potential for adaptation and the consequences of genetic divergence. As we delve into this complex aspect of the 40k universe, several thought-provoking elements emerge. Firstly, the very concept of Abhumans challenges our understanding of what it means to be human. In a galaxy where mankind has spread across countless worlds, each with its unique environmental pressures, the emergence of specialized human subspecies seems not only plausible, but inevitable. This raises intriguing questions about the future of our species. As we look to the stars and dream of colonizing other planets, how might we change to survive in alien environments? The Abhuman narrative offers a grim yet compelling vision of this potential future. The Imperium's contradictory stance on Abhumans reflects real-world struggles with diversity and inclusion. On one hand, we see the pragmatic acceptance of useful mutations, as exemplified by the military deployment of ogrins and ratlings. On the other, we witness fear and rejection of more extreme deviations. This duality serves as a poignant commentary on how societies often value diversity only when it serves a practical purpose, rather than embracing it as inherently valuable. The tragic fate of the squats, nearly wiped out by the Tyranid menace, adds a layer of poignancy to the Abhuman story. Their near extinction serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of even well-established cultures in the face of overwhelming galactic threats. It prompts reflection on the potential loss of unique human cultures and adaptations, not just in the grim darkness of the far future, but in our own world as well. One of the most compelling aspects of the Abhuman narrative is how it forces us to confront our own biases and preconceptions. The initial revulsion many feel towards drastically altered human forms challenges us to examine our own definitions of humanity. Are we defined solely by our physical form, or is there something more fundamental to our species' identity? The acceptance of navigators, despite their obvious mutations, suggests that utility often trumps ideology, a pragmatic yet morally ambiguous stance that characterizes much of the Imperium's approach. The emergence of new Abhuman strains adapted to specific environmental challenges presents an optimistic counterpoint to the otherwise grim setting. It suggests that humanity, in all its varied forms, possesses the resilience and adaptability to survive even the harshest conditions. This aspect of the lore offers a glimmer of hope in the typically bleak Warhammer 40,000 universe, hinting at humanity's potential to overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. However, the Imperium's often harsh treatment of Abhuman populations serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of intolerance and fear of the other. The persecution and even extermination of some Abhuman strains mirror dark chapters of human history, prompting us to reflect on the consequences of such actions. It raises uncomfortable questions about how we, as a society, treat those we perceive as different. The internal conflicts within Abhuman communities, with some striving for integration while others seek autonomy, add depth to their portrayal. This nuanced approach avoids depicting Abhumans as a monolithic group, instead presenting them as complex societies with their own divisions and aspirations. It's a reminder that diversity exists not just between groups, but within them as well. One particularly intriguing aspect of the Abhuman lore is the concept of acceptable divergence, the idea that some mutations are tolerated while others are condemned. This arbitrary line drawn by Imperial authorities parallels real-world debates about genetic engineering and human enhancement. As we stand on the cusp of technologies that could alter the human genome, the Abhuman narrative provides a thought-provoking exploration of the potential consequences and ethical dilemmas we might face. The use of Abhumans in Imperial military forces offers an interesting study in the intersection of prejudice and pragmatism. The image of ogrin brute squads fighting alongside human regiments or rattling snipers providing crucial support presents a vision of unity in diversity that contrasts sharply with the Imperium's usual xenophobia. It suggests that shared goals and common enemies can overcome even deeply ingrained biases, a lesson that resonates beyond the confines of the 40k universe. The potential for some Abhuman strains to resist certain Xenos influences, such as genus Teeler infection, introduces a fascinating twist to the narrative. It challenges the notion of genetic purity as strength, instead suggesting that diversity might be humanity's best defense against existential threats. This concept not only adds depth to the strategic considerations within the setting, but also offers a powerful metaphor for the value of diversity in problem-solving and adaptation. One cannot discuss Abhumans without addressing the philosophical and ethical questions they raise. The Imperium's struggles with classifying and accepting various Abhuman strains mirror our own society's ongoing debates about identity, belonging, and the rights of marginalized groups. The often arbitrary nature of Imperial classifications highlights the subjective and sometimes irrational basis for such distinctions in the real world. The role of the Adeptus Mechanicus in studying and sometimes cultivating Abhuman traits presents a compelling exploration of the ethics of genetic engineering. Their approach, viewing human adaptation as a form of optimization, raises questions about the limits of such experimentation and the potential consequences of viewing humans as products to be enhanced rather than individuals to be valued. Perhaps one of the most profound aspects of the Abhuman narrative is how it challenges the very concept of human identity in a post-human future. As humanity spreads across the stars and adapts to new environments, at what point do we cease to be human in any recognizable sense? The Abhuman story forces us to confront the possibility that our descendants might be as alien to us as we would be to our distant ancestors. Ultimately, the Abhuman saga in Warhammer 40,000 serves as a mirror, reflecting our own struggles with difference, adaptation, and the fundamental nature of humanity. It presents a vision of a future where the very definition of human is in constant flux, challenging us to expand our understanding of what it means to be part of the human family. In the grim darkness of the far future, the story of the Abhumans reminds us that humanity's greatest strength may lie in its diversity and capacity for change. The saga of Abhumans in the grim darkness of the 41st Millennium stands as a testament to the complexity and richness of the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Through their struggles, triumphs, and evolving place within the Imperium of Man, Abhumans embody the broader themes of adaptation, prejudice, and the ever-shifting definition of humanity in a hostile galaxy. As we've explored the myriad facets of Abhuman existence, from their origins in the dark age of technology to their pivotal roles in the Imperium's endless wars, several key points emerge. The Abhuman narrative challenges us to reconsider our preconceptions about human identity and the potential futures that await our species among the stars. The physiological diversity of Abhuman strains, from the towering Ogrins to the diminutive Ratlings, illustrates the remarkable adaptability of the human form. Each subspecies serves as a living example of humanity's potential to survive and even thrive in environments that would spell doom for unaltered humans. This adaptability, born of necessity and shaped by countless generations of environmental pressure, offers a glimmer of hope in the otherwise bleak setting of 40k. Yet, the very traits that enable Abhumans to survive hostile worlds often mark them as targets for suspicion and prejudice within Imperial society. The Imperium's conflicted approach to Abhumans, simultaneously relying on their specialized abilities while regarding them with distrust, mirrors real-world struggles with diversity and inclusion. This dichotomy forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about the nature of acceptance and the often arbitrary lines drawn between us and them. The tragic fate of some Abhuman strains, such as the near extinction of the squats, serves as a grim reminder of the precarious nature of existence in the 41st Millennium. It underscores the fact that even long-established and valuable members of Imperial society can fall victim to the myriad threats that plague the galaxy. This vulnerability adds a layer of poignancy to the Abhuman narrative, highlighting the fragility of diversity in the face of overwhelming forces. Conversely, the emergence of new Abhuman strains adapted to specific challenges presents a counterpoint to the grimness of their reality. The potential for humanity to evolve beneficial traits in response to chaos corruption or Geni-Stealer infection offers a unique perspective on the age-old conflict between humanity and its greatest foes. It suggests that the key to humanity's survival may lie not in rigid adherence to a mythical pure form, but in embracing the full spectrum of human potential. The internal conflicts within abhuman communities, with some striving for greater integration while others push for autonomy, add depth and nuance to their portrayal. These divisions reflect the broader tensions within the Imperium itself, caught between the need for unity in the face of external threats and the desire for self-determination. The struggles of abhuman populations for recognition and rights serve as a microcosm of larger societal conflicts, both in the fictional universe of 40k and in our own world. The role of the Adeptus Mechanicus in studying and sometimes cultivating abhuman traits raises profound questions about the ethics of genetic engineering and the limits of human adaptation. Their approach to abhumans as subjects for optimization opens up intriguing avenues for exploration of post-human futures. It challenges us to consider the potential consequences of viewing human evolution as a process to be guided and controlled, rather than a natural phenomenon. In the military sphere, the use of abhuman regiments alongside baseline human forces presents a compelling vision of unity in diversity. The image of Ogren brute squads charging into battle alongside human infantry or rattling snipers providing crucial support fire illustrates how differences can become strengths when united against a common foe. This aspect of the abhuman narrative offers a powerful counterpoint to the Imperium's usual xenophobia and distrust of the alien. The theological debates surrounding abhumans within the ecclesiarchy highlight the challenges of reconciling rigid dogma with the realities of human diversity. The struggles of imperial clergy to determine the spiritual status of abhuman souls reflect broader questions about the nature of humanity and the limits of religious doctrine in the face of a changing species. As the Imperium faces ever-growing threats from without and within, the abhuman question takes on new significance. The potential for certain abhuman strains to resist Xenos influence or adapt to chaos-tainted environments suggests that the future of humanity may depend on embracing rather than shunning genetic diversity. This shift in perspective challenges long-held imperial beliefs about genetic purity and the sanctity of the human form. The story of abhumans in Warhammer 40,000 serves as a lens through which we can examine our own attitudes towards difference, adaptation, and the fundamental nature of humanity. It presents a vision of a future where the very definition of human is in constant flux, challenging us to expand our understanding of what it means to be part of the human family. In the end, the abhuman narrative embodies the central paradox of the Imperium itself, a civilization simultaneously capable of remarkable adaptation and crippling stagnation. The acceptance and utilization of abhuman strains represent the pragmatic flexibility necessary for survival in a hostile universe. Yet, the prejudice and suspicion they face reflect the dogmatic rigidity that threatens to doom humanity to extinction. As we contemplate the future of our own species, the lessons of the Abhuman saga resonate beyond the confines of fiction. In a world grappling with rapid technological advancement, environmental challenges, and societal upheavals, the question of what it means to be human becomes increasingly pertinent. The abhuman narrative encourages us to consider the potential forms humanity might take as we reach for the stars and adapt to new frontiers. Moreover, the struggles of abhumans for acceptance and equality mirror ongoing real-world discussions about diversity, inclusion, and human rights. Their story serves as a reminder of the consequences of intolerance and the potential strength found in embracing our differences. In the grim darkness of the far future, the tale of the abhumans stands as a testament to the enduring human spirit, capable of adapting to the harshest conditions imaginable while retaining the essential spark of humanity. It challenges us to broaden our conception of what it means to be human and to consider the myriad forms our species might take in its quest for survival among the stars. As we close this exploration of abhumans in Warhammer 40,000, we are left with a deeper appreciation for the complexity and nuance of this fictional universe. The abhuman narrative, with all its tragedy and triumph, serves as a powerful allegory for our own struggles with identity, adaptation, and the eternal question of what truly defines humanity. In the face of an uncaring and hostile cosmos, perhaps our greatest strength lies not in rigid uniformity, but in the rich tapestry of human diversity in all its forms.